أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربي صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
Thank you so much, Sister Fatima. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and welcome to the Inner Gym. This is a workshop centralized on understanding all that is not visible to our human eye and applying practical skills to develop emotionally, intellectually, and of course, spiritually. We will be joined by our lovely sister and a professional in this field, Dr. Mubarak Nawaz. Dr. Mubarak Nawaz is a clinical psychologist, a life coach, and a nutritionist. She has served as an in-house clinical psychologist in 3 hospitals and been a professor teaching counseling psychology at postgraduate levels in Hyderabad, India. She's also worked with over 3,000 patients worldwide. Her career spans over 21 years in the field of psychology and spiritual modalities. As you can tell, her work expands into numerous subjects, but everything links into working with spiritual modalities. So I am just gonna, she also, one more thing, sorry. She has also authored a whole book called 12 Law of Attraction Secrets. And I'm sure she will share glimpses of her extensive knowledge with us today in this comprehensive workshop. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Mubarak, how are you doing?
Walaikum assalam, Sana, and all my little sisters and big sisters there. Wish you all warm greetings of the day. Inner Gym. Sana, shall I start with the screen share of the PPT?
Actually, just before you do, I'm just going to just revise a few things with the audience. So before I mute myself and hand it over to Dr. Mubarak, I just want to outline how this workshop will proceed. So while our sisters is discussing with us, we welcome you to join in and write any questions in the chat. So what I'm going to be doing is that I will be looking through the questions, and if there is something that I feel needs to be urgently discussed, I will whenever as soon as possible, I will share it with Dr. Mubarak. Otherwise, we ask that if it's okay with you all, that we will be discussing this in a Q&A session that's going to be towards the end of our program. And do not worry, I will make sure everything gets replied. And if you do not want to post it in the group chat, you can privately message me if you click my name. So just message me privately and I'll keep you anonymous. So other than that, we will have a 10-minute salat break at around 4:40 p.m. London time, and we will proceed immediately after that 10 minutes. Please also know that this is going to be recorded. So if you would, let's say, want to ask a question in the Q&A session, you can raise your hand, we will unmute you, but you will be recorded. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Mubarak now. Bismillah.
Thank you so much, Sana, and that was such an elaborate introduction. If asked to introduce myself, I would just call myself a seeker who's working on clearing her channels, someone who's working towards a continuous establishment of the connection with the divine. And trust me, it's an amazing journey, so rewarding, adventurous, exciting, roller coaster, all of it in one. It's been a long journey reaching here. Didn't begin on this platform right away. navigated my way through my curiosity and my intense desire to get to where I wanted. Okay, so now if I'm allowed to share the screen, darling, I would be well equipped to take it forward in a structured format.
Are you able to do that?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna make you the host. There we go. Should
Okay.
work.
Yes. So now is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And just let me set things at my end. Great. So it's such a delight to see my dear sisters in faith sharing the screen. I've been having these workshops since 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 a very long time, the COVID and even before COVID, and it's been a very complex group that I've been interacting with. But this is a very closed group, so it feels like homecoming. And thank you so much, Sister Sana, for that elaborate introduction. So that was very sweet of you. And yes, I've been working on this in this field of spiritual and the spiritual modalities, and I have figured out that there is just one thing that we all are working towards, and that is proximity to God, that is nearness. We call it Kurbatan Ilala. Every act is Kurbatan Ilala, but it's very contradictory because God is so close to us. He's closer to us as he claims than our jugular vein. So how can we get closer than something that's so close to us? So I've been working and striving to understand that, and I sort of each time feel I've just cracked that puzzle, and then there's another layer that comes up. So let me navigate you through this journey, how I have reached, where I have reached, and take it forward. So you being here tells me that you're on a journey of metamorphosis yourself, and that you have chosen transformation as a lifestyle. It's such a delight to see learning and growing from the inside out. Okay. And as I work on this, I think this is slipping, and there are some people in the waiting room. So now, how can I disable this view that I have here? I can't hear you, darling.
Sorry, I've done everything. Don't worry. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, that's fine. Right. Um, we are we are going to. It's wonderful to have you all on this platform, and that's the core identity of our tribe that we call the tribe of transformers. I would like to add here that we are all here by divine appointment. So this is not by fluke that you're here. There have been a lot of participants who have wanted to be here, but they're not here, and many of you who have not planned have managed to show up. So there is nothing but the intention and divine intent, and there is a divine appointment that is the reason of you being here. So let's acknowledge ourselves for showing up, applaud our attendance, and be ready for the expansion that we are actually ready for. If you're wondering why the name Inner Gym, so this has been a workshop that I have been uh, facilitating, and I've designed and structured since the past 6 months. It's displayed on the bigger platform where everyone's invited, and there have been a lot of spiritual modalities that I have been introducing to initiate spiritual growth. So there are spiritual authors, motivational life journeys, and prophets and stories of prophets that I have incorporated and created. And after a lot of brainstorming, the only word that came out was inner gym. So this is the Islamic inner gym is something that I can call it. So what are we going to do today? So we are going to work today understanding the working psychotherapeutic model of helping you navigate through your challenges, psychological life challenges. We're also going to look into the Islamic integrated version that has been created and is actually been employed by psychologists all over the globe. We're also going to have during the workshop a practical session where you would be understanding the modalities and probably experiencing a session. And additionally, what I have last moment decided was, as a token of appreciation, I would share a few cheat codes, and lastly we would end with a Q&A, a question and answer, where you would be sharing your questions. So what I would suggest is keep a pen and paper handy so that you can write your questions. I would love it to be interactive, but because of the time frame and the distractions that and the digression that would happen in case we allowed chatting and interaction in between, we have restricted it to to Sister Sana, who would be sharing, who would be facilitating the chat, your queries and understanding your queries, and act like a bridge and help us both navigate without any digression. Apart from that, then we would also, okay, so we would go to the actual psychological model. So a psychologist by profession and a transformationalist by choice, I decided to share with you the most, what you see on screen is the most widely used therapy, that is the cognitive behavior therapy, the CBT in short. So this is a therapeutic model that has been used worldwide in different formats. So it's also been used in therapeutic formats, psychotherapeutic formats. It's also been used in transformational workshops to facilitate and get about the change, generate the change that we are looking for, and create a life that is a source of happiness, contentment, peace, and connection with the divine. So what looks in front of you like a vicious circle, what you can see is thoughts create feelings, feelings create behavior, and behaviors create thoughts, and so on. So it looks like a circle, a vicious circle, but this is not as vicious a circle as it looks like, and there is a point where you can break through. In fact, the beginning of the circle, wherever we begin, we have a new therapeutic model. So in this model, we begin our intervention at the thought level, where we will break the thoughts, the trajectory of the thoughts, and then therefore change the feelings and the behavior. But in this model, what you see, the thoughts and the feelings are very often the personal element, internal element, but the behavior could be an external element and not always not an internal element. It could be out of the equation of the personal context. Apart from this, this model is extremely flexible. It looks like a chicken and egg thing, like I told you earlier, but I'll just show you how we break this. So, for example, now I would keep my eyes on the chat. Sana, keep your eyes on the chat box and just give me a thumbs up if you get the answers in the chat box. I'm not having a look at it. So, what's the origin of a tree? I want you all to tell me in the chat box, according to your wisdom, what's the origin of a tree?
You got someone saying a seed.
Okay, great. Bang on. Suppose I say, it was too easy, na? So suppose I say, what is the origin of an oak tree?
Roots.
Okay.
Roots.
Okay. Okay, let me make it a little
Okay.
easier. Acorn. It's an acorn. Yes. So an oak tree, a majestic, huge oak tree began as an humble little acorn. That's the seed of the oak tree. So just like that, every reality began as a thought. Yeah, take a moment to introspect. So every reality, even to attend this workshop, First you saw the message, and then you processed it, thought about it, and then you probably checked the timings. There were a lot of things that went on, and eventually you are here. You showed up. Anything for that matter, even the incandescent bulb was first in the mind's eye, and then it just getting nurtured, and then it became a reality. The aeroplane was there in the minds of the Wright brothers, but it was not there anywhere. And then it spent a long bit of time in the head brewing, and then it comes out as a reality. So are we clear on this, all of us? I'm sure we are. We better be, because this is the foundation. But what is how? So now how do we take a seed to fruition, to a tree? There's a protocol to be followed. So the seed has to be, it has to be a viable seed. It also has to be, there has to be soil, fertile soil. It has to be placed into the soil so that it's not washed away or blown away. Then it has to be nurtured, watered, and sunlight. All the components have to get together, and then we get the fertilization process in place. So just like that, how are we going to nurture the thought to its fruition is what we are going to understand at this level. So there are first of all, we need to understand what the thoughts, the seeds, like I told you, it's a thought. So we are actually bombarded with 30,000 thoughts per hour. That takes us to 50 thoughts per minute, which is almost a thought per second. And according to the National Science Foundation, an average human being has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. So wow, we have so many seeds, isn't it? Aren't we blessed? We have a lot of seeds, because seeds were the thoughts. Now comes another part in the puzzle. So of these thoughts, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive. So 80% are negative. I'm sure we don't want to create a negative life, and I'm sure we don't want to create the same life, because we are here to elevate, to move ahead, to create a new life, to expand. So we have to so the 95% of the thoughts that are repetitive are out of our box. They're not viable seeds. They're not viable thoughts that we want to nurture. 80% are negative. So that leaves us with a very few thoughts. That is a very, very important data that we all need to understand. So now, how do we go about this entire process? So here comes into the equation the therapy. CBT aims to focus. CBT is the short form for cognitive behavior therapy. So CBT aims to focus on our thought patterns, our conscious, our unconscious beliefs, our attitudes, and ultimately, and also our behavior. This therapy is designed to encourage positive beliefs and behaviors while altering the negative ones. So now what we're going to do is work on the 85. This is what happens on a random, on an approximation human, the part of the population that is working on autopilot, default mode. They're using the default template of functioning. We can choose to continue the functioning as a default on the default mode, or consciously take hold of our steering wheel and direct our lives to navigate us to where we want to go. So how we think about an event or a situation affects the way we feel and act, and in turn our actions, and they affect the way we feel. So all of this is clear. Are we ready to go ahead? Let me explain this with the example of four friends, students. So they all get a low grade in their first semester. So this is their first semester. This is the new class, and student one thinks this is terrible. He feels hopeless. He's never going to get good grades in this class, and this class is the most toughest class of his life. The student two things, okay, it wasn't what I had planned for, but maybe this is going to be a class that really challenges me to grow. I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to do what I can to bring my grade up. And I'm going to look at what options I have to move ahead to get better marks. Student three, he's the thought process that he's going through is the teacher is horrible and she scores everyone low, especially me because she doesn't like me and nobody else does. And student four, he says that I am doomed. Things are never go. Things are. I am dumb. I'm stupid, and I'm not going to study further because study is not where I'm meant to be. I'm going to give up. So I just don't want to study any further. He just puts his hands up and gives up. So the same result. All of them have the same IQ level. They have been friends who were similar, getting similar grades, but they all scored similar marks, similar percentages, similar gradings, and they had different opinions. So which you're not going to get any brownie points in understanding which student is going to be happy, who's going to lead a happy life. So obviously the one who was calm and he said, okay, it's probably going to make me feel better. But what is the crux of what does this tell us is the result is not the reason for you to be happy or sad. It was not the result. It was not the exam. It is how you processed the information. So there is a lot of data to support what we say. There has been extensive research done to understand this concept of it's your thoughts that make your reality, and it is not the event, the experience, that makes the reality. So once you've understood this, there is one more component of the thoughts that needs to be addressed here. When thoughts have been studied, there's been an extensive research done on thoughts. So when thoughts have been studied, it has been found that thoughts are often not even real. They are false. So what do I mean by that? I know it is difficult to digest. I'm thinking the reality, which is a false reality. So what's happening in front of me, you hear people say things based on what you want to hear. So they would have said something different, but the way you're hearing it is what you felt you have programmed yourself to hear. So there is a lot of false evidence that you keep getting also, which you think is real. So this is another part of the puzzle that you need to be aware of. So this is like there is one physical world that we are all living here, but there are billions of different internal worlds. So what I mean by internal worlds is, Sana, do you want to say anything? Is it time for Salah?
No, not yet. So we're going to take a break in 10 minutes for Salat, but I do have a quick question from someone. That says, can we change the pattern of repetitive thoughts recurring?
That's exactly what we're going to do, darling. That's what this entire workshop is all about. So chill. Fasten seatbelts and stay put. Okay. So yeah, definitely, Sana, and whoever's asked the question. So like I told you, there's this one physical world that we see. It is tangible. We can see, touch, feel. But there are billions of different internal worlds that are going on parallel. So we are all in your separate theaters witnessing an entirely different show and yet behaving as though we are all in the same audience watching the very same event. So everyone watches an event and processes it in their own individual pattern of processing. And that is where we're going to work. How do we work on it? The how process is what we're going to do. So you don't need to worry about that at all. So what we have in front of us on the screen is the reticular activating system. What I like about science is science demystifies the mystical. So it gives us so much of validation and understanding of what things are and why they work the way they work. And it makes it so easy for us to understand. So what's actually happening? What is this RAS or reticular activating system. It's a part of your brain that is the size of the thumb, and uh, it is also referred to often as the reticular cortex. You could go and check it out in detail later on, and it would add a lot of clarity to understanding the law of attraction context and a lot of spiritual context as well. So this is a network of neurons that extends from the top of the spinal cord up to the thalamus with multiple functions, some of which are managing the circadian cycle, and the circadian cycle is the sleep and wake cycle. And another function is providing safety, which is the primary function, evidence finding, and proving us right. So what this and validating our belief system. So whatever we believe in is what we are, is it's going to allow insight. So let me, I know it's a little too much too soon, but we will take it bite size as from now onwards. So what do I mean by what I just told you, the circadian cycle and the safety and the evidence finding and validating? I know all of this was too much, but it had to come, it had to be presented to you like this because these are the functions. But now I'll tell you what I meant, what I'm meaning by this. So it's a filter. The reticular cortex or the reticular activating system, the RAS, is a filter, and it filters the sensory stimuli and redirects them to a part of the brain that's called the cerebral cortex. So what I mean is at a particular time, we are receiving a lot of stimuli. So how are you feeling in your leg just now? How are you feeling? Just put it in the chat box. How are you feeling in your leg just now? I know that was like from here and there tangent, but that had to be like that. So what I was trying to do experientially to make you understand that at this point of time there are sensations in your feet, in your soul, in the sole of your feet, I mean, and there are sounds outside, there are sounds inside the house, outside the house, there is the sensation on your skin, there's probably the sensation of your clothes hugging your body. So all these sensations are happening simultaneously, but you're not even aware of them. You're aware of the sound that you are focused on. So the function of the RAS is to filter the stimuli that you need to take in. So it's filtering all from all the stimuli that you're getting. There's 40-bit information that your conscious mind can process, and 40,000 bits of information that you subconscious. So there is so much of stimuli that you're getting all the time, so much bombarded. So when from this, the reticular activating system is only going to allow the things that are now, here is the whole filter. What is it allowing? What is it allowing is where you are focused on. So you're focused on this workshop, and what I am saying, so your reticular activating system is only going to allow that to enter into your conscious awareness, but the rest is also going in. It's not gone, it's not going in. So the rest, Sana, just let me know 2 minutes in advance so that I wind it up and don't leave the loose ends.
For sure, you have 6 minutes. Yeah, so
yeah, great, that's good to go. And let me take you to then we have the time for the next slide. So this will make it more clear. This will add complete clarity to what I said. So here what you see in front of you is the brain. Now in the brain, there is a little happy smiley. So this person, whoever's brain we are looking at, has a happy experience or a belief of a happy person at this point of time. At this point of time, he's feeling happy. Now put yourself in the situation of a happy person. So when you're feeling happy, you are not going to feel irritated with the loud sounds outside, with someone bugging you, with asking you to get something, or someone making squeaky noises with the teeth or chewing loudly. These things are just going to go in the background, like the sensation on your foot, which you weren't aware of consciously. These are going. You will be attracted to a happy couple, someone who is happy, smiling, partying, just been awarded. But someone who's confused, someone who's sad, someone who's angry are going to be out of your receptive mode. So when I said it's going to act like a gatekeeper, when I said that your RAS acts like a filter, what is it filtering in is what you need to understand. It's only going to filter in whatever is resonating with your internal environment. So your internal environment, if your belief is I'm a happy person and I'm always blessed and everything good happens to me, then you will be flooded with evidence that will prove that. So you see some people seem to be lucky all the time. They get the best of the husbands and the best of the children, and their in-laws are also, and it seems like they are the lucky ones. But it is what you are inside, what you attract from the external. So whatever frequency you're resonating it, you're vibrating, you're going to attract similar events and experiences which are on that conscious level. Are we good to have we understood this? Can we go to the next bit of the information, Sana? Another 5 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So also let me add one more thing. So I had said it validates. So it validates a point of focus, which whatever is inside. So it could be a temporary, like I told you just now, this person is feeling happy, so it could be temporary one, or it could be a long-term belief that you're carrying right from your childhood based on how you've been brought up. Now, this is very easily explained by the placebo effect. If how many of you know what the placebo means or the placebo effect means? Um, is the majority aware of the placebo effect? Sana, you would, but what about the others? How do you see the audience? Do you want me to go into the details of the placebo? I think
If you feel confused at any point, just there's a reaction button, so you can say thumbs up, or you can, if you agree, yeah, or you can just raise your hand as well, and I'll clarify.
okay. This means I go ahead with the placebo, or you know the placebo. I'll make it clear. This means I know the placebo.
Someone just
I
said
know.
explain briefly what it is.
If you give me a thumbs up or a hands up, I understand that you understand the placebo. So then I just touch on the topic and move ahead, and I don't go into detailed explanation of the placebo.
We have someone in the chat saying, I don't understand what it is.
Yeah, so for the benefit of that one person, I would definitely go ahead explaining what the placebo means. Okay, so there have been extensive research done on administering sugar pills to patients and telling them that this is the real medicine. And what happens is this patient recovers. It doesn't only happen with sugar pills, it has also happened with a lot of surgeries. So we have these surgeries which have been conducted on the knees, and even open heart surgeries. So they have got this paper signed by the patients before the operations, which claim that you might undergo a surgery or you might not, and you need to understand that we will not be telling you this initially. We will only tell you this later on. This is going to be shared only later on. So this is how the placebo experiment begins, and in the surgical placebo experiments begin. Now, when the doctor took up this experiment, Dr. Mosley and the others, he took this experiment up to prove that placebo surgeries is a sham. It doesn't work. And surgeries cannot, there can be no placebo for a surgery, substitute for a surgery. But he was surprised when he saw the results. So when he saw the results after a year, the patients who had the surgery and the placebo surgery had recovered at the same stage internally. So the bones had gone through the changes that the real surgery had intervened and got. The results were the same the sham surgery, the placebo surgery, and the real surgery. They were absolutely the same. So this was one experiment, and then it was followed by multiple experiments which just went on to prove that even surgeries can be placebo. Surgery are actually all placebo surgery. Another easier way to explain this is, if we all have, some of us have witnessed fractures personally or seen people being fractured in real time. When there's a fracture, what happens is you're plastered. That's the normal protocol. As of now, the plaster is not there, but you're asked to rest, or you just have something wrapped on, a bandage, and you're asked to rest that part of the body. So be it a hand or a leg or whatever. So who is joining the bones? There is no injection, there is no medication. Who joins the bones? The body, the intellect of the body, the healing power of the body joins the bones. So it is not, you would take an extra calcium or vitamin D, but that is something that you would take even otherwise with the food, or you would just up your dose, and that's not medication. That is not treatment. That is just supplementation. It's not called treatment. So the body joins the bone. So the innate wisdom of the body, which can join bones, can also heal anything else apart from the bones. So just like we have a physical immune system, we have a psychological immune system, and that is how we're going to take it forward. I think we'll pause now, because now is where a lot of that a longer slide will be followed. So now we can take a break now.
Yes. So everyone, we have a few questions that we can answer as soon as the break is over. So we're gonna go for a 10-minute namaz break because it is Maghrib time here in London. So we'll see you all shortly in 10 minutes sharp. The time is now 4:42 for us. So at 4:52 we will resume. Okay, welcome back everyone. Dr. Mubarak, I've made you the host again. If you can just share your screen, and then I'll remove you again, because I don't know why it doesn't let you share it otherwise. Perfect, thank you.
So okay. Are we all in our seats back? Are we ready to go? Yeah, Sana, shall we go?
Yeah.
Shall we proceed? Yeah.
So.
So just like the placebo effect, which in front of you can see the pill that says it will, and if you believe it will, the same pill, and if you believe it won't, it doesn't. So we have an internal pharmacy, an internal immune system that gets triggered based on your belief about whatever experience that you're going through or whatever you're doing. Now, one more term that you need to understand is the nocebo effect. So it will is the placebo, and it won't is the nocebo. If you believe it won't, it actually won't. So there was someone who was wanting to understand the RAS better, or the belief. Let me. This question is the internal frequency to do with your beliefs or predisposition or temperament. So I need to understand the question better to be able to answer it for your clarity. So I would take it in the question and answer session, but if you're not clear on that now, you will not be, the person who has posted that question will not be able to understand it, take it further. So if if anyone has this question and needs clarity and seeks clarity, you'll have to ask me the question clearly for you to get clarity on whatever is confusing you. So whatever you're feeling inside, like I showed you that slide earlier, this is your inner disposition. So if you're feeling happy internally, if you feel loved internally, in that moment, transitory moment, what is going to happen? Just like I told you, how do you feel in your leg during the course of our workshop? I asked you suddenly, out of the blue, how are you feeling in the leg? So what the stimuli that you were getting in your leg was there constantly. You were all the time feeling whatever you were feeling. So if you're wearing a pair of socks, it's cold in UK and you're wearing a pair of socks, you could feel the socks hugging your legs, your foot all the time, but you weren't even aware of it. So we are bombarded with stimuli right from your scalp to your toe. So this stimuli is going on, but your RAS acts as a filter. Wherever you focus, whatever your internal state is, these are few pointers. So the function of the RAS is safety, like I told you. So what does it mean? What makes it safe is familiarity. Whatever it is familiar with, it keeps repeating. So that's why 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. When you are doing the same things over and over again, you're safe. When you venture out to do something new, so if you're learning a new skill, cycling, swimming, for that matter, any skill, there is that component of fear that intervenes, that interjects your experience, and because of which we do not venture into any new project, anything new is takes a back seat, and what you do is you're only into doing the familiar safety. So these are the things which decides what enters into your experience and which is not. So this is what I meant by familiarity and the RAS working. We also understood this, and we came here. So now what does the so now let's join the dots, the RAS and the placebo. These two things that we've just understood, they're two different things. Now let us just join the dots to get a clearer picture. This will give us the experience of the mind over matter phenomena. So how the mind works over the matter, the physical aspect of our being. Like we saw earlier, 80% of our thoughts are negative, 95% are repetitive. Now, there are 15 main cognitive distortions that plague us. And not only the people who are suffering from com- uh, continuous thought distortions, but even normal people, healthy, mentally, emotionally healthy people. So, what are these 15 distortions in thoughts? Are filtering. So what you see in front of you is when an experience is there, like we spoke about those students. So we spoke about 4 students who had the same experience, but they all processed it differently. So there is now what we will do. We know how it works. So just like the law of gravity, if I throw something down, if I leave something suspended, it's gonna stay there. But when I let it go, it falls down. This is law, and this is all the time acting. This is all the time. It is acting all the time, irrespective if you believe it or you don't. Similarly, this law of your thoughts, feelings, and behavior is also all the time active. It is functioning. You believe it or you don't. So how does it help us understanding this? So if we want, we can use the law of gravity to use the aeroplane or hydroelectricity, or we can just let it be and lead a primitive life. So we can allow our lives to go on a default mode and not do anything about it, not use this to benefit us or to change, to steer our life in the direction of growth, transformation, and just lead a continuous life in loops. That is one option. And the second option is understand this law and use it to your benefit. So here, what you see in front of you on the screen is we inject ideas. We cannot stop the trajectory of thoughts. Thoughts can never be stopped. So what can we do then? When I say thoughts are all automatic, you cannot stop thoughts. So then you are helpless. When I have already told you, you can't do anything about the thoughts that are coming in. So then what's the big point of the whole experience of CBT, and why all this? So that there is a catch here. So the catch is, I cannot I cannot change the thoughts that are entering, but I can change how they feel. So if I have if I have a line, if I have this pen, and I want this pen to become small, what do I do? I can't change this. I can't cut this. I take a bigger pen. So then this becomes small in comparison, relatively. So we inject so many positive thoughts that the entire flavor of the thoughts, the experience of in the internal experience in your brain or in your mind is a positive experience. Let me give you another example to make it easier. So if there is an ink bottle that you need to clean, I cannot wipe the ink as much as I want to. I cannot clean it by wiping it. What I need to do is flush in a lot of water, a lot and a lot and a lot of water. So just by a few positive thoughts or a few positive experiences, I cannot change the entire internal environment. I need to bombard myself with a lot of positive or motivating, a lot of things, a lot of tools, a lot of techniques to create the life that I want to create. So I will inject ideas, and they will translate to thoughts and feelings and create an experience that is a happy experience. So this is how it goes. I was speaking about 12 distortions. So what are these 12 distortions? Very often they are filtering. So we filter. So filter refers to the way a person can ignore all the positive and good things in life and focus only on the negatives. So there could be so many things that are happening in that person's life, and he focuses on, this only happens with me, I am the only person who falls. I remember when I'm speaking to you, I remember a patient long back, and she used to say, oh, my chapatis don't blow and don't become like a balloon. So, and she used to say, when I'm standing with my maid to stop the cab, when I wave my hand, the cab doesn't stop. But when my maid waves the hand, the cab stops. And she had all these things in her experience, and she was sharing one after the other, one after the other. So the only exercise or homework or growth work, as we call it, that I gave her is, from now onwards till the next 24 hours, like from today 12 o'clock till tomorrow 12 o'clock, I want you to make a list of all the things that have gone good or right in the 12 hours. And she was so surprised that from the 10 chapatis that she made, only one did not blow into a balloon. We say roti fulti nahi thi. So in Hindi we say that, and that's how she came to me. She's like, "Meri roti kabhi fulti nahi hai," and I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, from the 10 chapatis that she had roasted, 9 did and 1 didn't. And then she noticed that when her mother-in-law, not her maid, did the same thing, 8 of hers did not blow into a balloon, and there were only 2 that did. So she was observing these things and she shared. So she was focused on only the things that didn't go right, and that was what. So when you are when you it happens all the time. Like if you learn a new word, you feel that the newsreaders speak telling the word, you read it in the paper and you feel like everyone's learned it at the time you learned it, but that word was there all the time. You weren't aware of the word, and hence you weren't alert, and it was your RAS was not allowing it into your conscious awareness. So that is called filtering. So you filter only data that resonates with what you have inside. So whatever you've taken inside, then you will get evidence of externally. So we need to be very mind. Here comes the mind. We come to what to do about it, but there are a couple of them. Then there's this black and white thinking, where there is no that things can have always go wrong with me, or they always go right with someone else. Then overgeneralization, where one thing happens and then you feel this is how I am. All are very similar, but there is subtle difference. If I go into the details, it'll take a workshop by itself. So jumping to conclusions, then we also have catastrophizing, magnifying or minimizing, distortion of the real event, and thinking that, okay, if I would have not gone on time because I went late, everything went out of sync. Because I reached late, my child fell down and this happened and the food was burned. So if I had gone, so that lots of things that you just feel you're responsible for everything that goes wrong, or what you've done is responsible. Then personalization is a distortion, where you believe that everything that you do has an impact on external events or on your own personal life. Exaggeration, if someone's then control fallacies. We also where the distortion involves feeling like everything that has happened to you is a result of something external. Because my mom did this, I am like this. Because my father did this, my aunt did this, she said this, so people hate me. This she's my they people someone's bitched about me or said not nice things about me, and that is why my life is in such a mess, and that's why this happened to me, and he doesn't like me because she said something to him about me. So this is all about control fallacy. Fallacy of fairness, that everyone should be fair, everything should be fair. If I give this much, I should get this much back. So what I give to that person, I should be compensated in the same quantity, quantum, and there are lots of similar fallacies, especially blaming, but that is one very, and shoulds. I should do that, she should do that. This is comes under NLP as well, neuro linguistic programming, where we programmed ourselves. So this creates a lot of constrictions and suffocation and burdens, where you say, I should be doing this. Whereas you could say, I could be a good mother, I could be a good listener, I could be a good learner. It's not I should, I must, I have to. You could replace these words as I could, I could choose to, it would be nice to, it would be fun to. So these are the options. These are options that I usually share. Then there's another distortion that's called emotional reasoning. So this distortion involves in thinking that if if we if we feel certain in a certain way, it must be true. And if we feel we are unattractive, we are unattractive. If we feel we do not speak well, we do not speak well. So what we think, we believe it is true. We're so confident about the false belief. There are lots of pretty girls who come to me and say, ma'am, I really feel so ugly. I'm like, from which angle, which mirror is she using to see herself? And I feel so confused, so sad for her, in fact, that she's such a pretty physical being as well as a soul, and she feels unattractive. So there's another fallacy of change that we call the change lies in expecting other people to change so that life becomes easy for us. So if she changes, my life is going to be easy. If he stops doing this, I will be happy. If he starts doing this, I will be a happy me. So it has got nothing to do externally. Happiness is within, is about you. It's your job. It's not the job of anyone outside. Then global labeling, like all Jews are bad, or all blacks are XYZ, all whites are XYZ. So these are global labeling. These people are not to be trusted. So these are global labeling, or people who are boys are like that, girls are like that, males are like that, and females are like that. And always wanting to be right. Now here there is a very important component of, you either get to be right or you get to be happy. So if you choose to be happy, you have to give up very often being right. So this is a choice that you make in life. That do you want to be a nafs mutmainna? Do you want to be at peace with yourself? Do you want to be content? Do you want to be and so how do we deal with all these distortions? We have a toolkit. So as psychologists, we have a comprehensive toolkit which we use, and some of them are pivoting, and then we have stories, influential motivational stories. We have reframing. We have a chair technique where we ask the person to sit in the chair, where we ask him to visualize the person who's the perpetrator, who's victimizing you, or who's supposed to be the person who's wronged you, in sitting in a chair opposite you, and then sit in that chair and see things from their perspective. We have letter writing, we have pillow punching, uh, we have the relaxing techniques where we allow the person to relax and then visualize the same situation, how they would feel and behave. Then pivoting, I just shared with you. Dietary modifications also. Okay, diet plays a very important role in how you feel also. There are certain chemicals when ingested, these are not chemicals that are not got only from a chemical source. We also get it from food. So when we ingest such food which are loaded with these, with L-lycopene, there are lots of things for that matter. So tryptophan. So these will make you. These are tryptophan. L-tryptophan is a precursor to serotonin. So, and it is natural form of serotonin, and it makes you feel good. So there are dopamine triggers. There are tryptophan triggers. There are serotonin triggers. These things also help in making you feel better about yourself, and hence creating an environment where you are able to allow the experiences that you desire into your life. We also have self-talk, affirmations, and visualizations, and art therapy, which allows us to navigate. So someone asked, how do you do it? So I will only deal with pivoting just now. We had, like I told you, there's a comprehensive toolkit. But now I will show what I will show you what pivoting is all about. Pivoting is just changing focus. So I've been looking at it this way, like I shared with you the experience with a patient I had who said so many things negative, and then when she had to actually create a list of what was happening right or wrong in her life, she discovered that she was just focusing on what was going wrong and not even aware to the least bit of what was going right. So here it is, I'm really bad at this. So this is how you are processing. So there is a wiring, internal neural wiring that works on that pattern, that I'm really bad at this. So if you're going to say I'm really bad at this, you find evidence and validation that will tell you, yes, you're really bad at this. But on the other hand, if you say I'm great at this, or I'm getting better and better at this, you might not be the best at that moment, but you can just say I'm getting better and better at this, or I'm great at this. It could be something else. But when you get that neural synapses, that new wiring, when you hardwire yourself in a different way, you are going to be bombarded with evidence that will justify and validate your at that whatever you are feeling internally. Then there are not enough hours in the day. So no, I'm always on time and I get things done on time. So we have to be aware of what is the internal dialogue, but that's the first step. And once you are aware of the internal dialogue, only will you be able to pivot. Pivot is change focus. So here on the screen you have I always mess it up. So then you have I'm always confident. So I never have enough money. I'm good with money. Money flows to me. So these are called affirmations also. This is called positive self-talk also. And this is how we talk about how do we create powerful affirmations, is by first identifying what you want to pivot. You want to shift the focus. What is going on? What is the internal dialogue? That's the first focus. The second step, so we'll be doing this. So the second step would be creating an affirmation of what you want to create. manifest the new dialogue, the new self-talk, the positive self-talk that we call. So this is a very effective tool, and you can, as of now, just close your eyes and connect to your inner self-talk. What is it that you often keep telling yourself? What is it that you keep telling yourself? Write it down, and then if anyone wants any assistance with creating an affirmation, they can share it in the question and answer session, and we would take it up there and help them work on a powerful affirmation to negate their and shift their, pivot their negative self-talk.
Sorry, Dr.
Yes.
Mubarak, are we going to be, can we share these slides with the audience later on? Is that okay with you?
I don't see any reason not to do it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So everyone can read through everything properly then later themselves. Sorry, everyone. I think we had a connection issue. Her video has just frozen. There we go. Okay, now we can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the first step here is to be aware. How do you become aware of what is happening internally? So what did I do just now is I asked you to pause, and I asked you to go in internal and to go inside and be aware of whatever self-talk is going on. So till now you were on a default mode, and what did I do is I brought into the equation something that's called mindfulness, awareness, or tafakkur. So this is like a muscle. What do you do with, how do you strengthen a muscle? By working out. So how do you create this mindfulness or awareness muscle? How do you strengthen this awareness or mindfulness muscle? Is by creating a habit of being mindful. Mindful, we call it tafakkur, and this is something that that has been, if I'm not mistaken, it's in Al-Kafi. I've read it, like 1 hour of tafakkur is more than 1,000 hours spent in prayer, and my intention is not at all to evaluate them. And it's all prayer has its obligatory value, its prime importance, and it can never be put to the secondary level. But yes, the tafakkur, contemplation, has a very, very important place in spiritual growth and elevation, expansion. So we have so many. Yes, Sana, is there something that you would like?
Sorry. We've been getting told in the chat that the font in the little diagrams is a little small. Is there a way you can just zoom in onto this slide? Or, because I know you kept it in this view so we can see the notes as well. Just these little bubbles. They want to, there we go. Now it's just zoomed into one.
So this was like, I'm really bad, and this is the pivoted one. I'm great, I'm always on time. And this is how you pivot. This is a very simplistic approach to pivot. We do it in a more specialized way, but this will give you an understanding of what pivoting is all about. So here, what is important at first step is contemplation and mindfulness, something that all spiritual gurus are unanimously agree on, and that is something that they all agree and they all focus on, including our school of thought, where we have it shared. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Imam Jafri al-Sadiq has also shared it. So, and if we are able to create self-awareness, a habit of self-awareness, we will be able to catch ourselves when we are thinking in a disempowering trajectory, in a cycle, in a loop of disempowerment. So this is the first thing that we are going to work on. That's the first growth work. So how does a session NCBT look like? So we would look at the activate, it's called ABCDE. So the activating event, whatever is the disturbing event, it could be your mother-in-law, your husband, your mother, your children, anything that disturbs you, disturbs your equilibrium, is working in loops, is creating an issue. So that would be the activating event. What is the belief that is underlying it? That is the RAS. The RAS is only going to allow things that are going to resonate with the belief that you have about this person. So I'm a bad mom. If that is your belief, then you're going to see all the evidence that will prove that you're a bad mom. And if you feel like my mother-in-law is a horrible person, you will be. Here again, I remember a very interesting story, but I don't think I have the time for that. So if you look into your life as well, you will see evidence that that will support your belief with reference to whatever is happening, whatever is occurring in loops. So that's something that you need to. And then the consequent feelings and the behavior. So if you have there was also another interesting example. So if you're going for a majalis and your spouse is going to pick you up, and you have been one of your friend who you're not supposed to be, your husband doesn't like her, and she just calls and you're all ready, it's all perfect, you're ready on time, everything's going, and she is going through a major challenge. Something's really happened in her life and she needs to talk to you about it, she needs your advice on it, and you just can't keep the phone, and your husband's reached down, and you are panicking because you can't tell her no, and you can't tell him that you're talking to her, and he's given you a call that I'm down, and he's left a message. Now you cannot avoid, but you have to stay there and take a while to get down. On the other hand, in the car is your spouse. He had a few urgent calls to make, but he had this commitment with you and he didn't want to get late, so he reaches down, and then he sees, okay, you're not there, great, I can catch up with the work that I had kept pending, and I'm so happy that she's not there, and he's doing his stuff, and he's just praying you take some more time. So he's in a happy zone, and he's sorted. He's wanting you to get a little more late, and he's okay with the waiting. You do not know about what's happening in the car. So what you do is you come down with the understanding that he's going to be upset, and I cannot tell him that I was speaking to this friend, and how do I deal with it? And then you reach down, and then you are like, either you're justifying your action in your head, like so many times he's got late, but why do I get so upset? Because if I'm late even for 2 minutes and 5 minutes, I cannot even share it with him, and he's such a control freak. And this is all going on in your head. This is the dialogue, internal dialogue that's going on. So you are here feeling guilty, unhappy, angry, and not in the best state of mind. So you enter the car and you're like you're feeling all messed up, but you don't say a word, and neither does he. And then you take off for the majalis, and in the middle there's traffic, and someone just takes the wrong turn, and he's very upset, and oh my god, doesn't he know how to drive? Can't he just see we're getting late? And you're like, yeah, it's because of me you got late, and you want to tell me, so why don't you tell me? And it's like, where did this all come from? So there was no reality to what you translated to what he did and what happened. So there was a complete distortion of the event because of your belief, XYZ belief. So the feelings and the behavior was not relevant to what had happened. So this is how things get conjured up, and they just get created because of the way we think and process information. So now what happens during a session is we dispute the beliefs that he should be okay, it's okay to get late, it's not okay to get late. So whatever the beliefs are, the husband shouldn't be waiting, or I should always be on time, or if I'm late, he's the one who he gets upset, so I need to it would be just okay. I got late and I'm sorry and I'm done with it. So it would just sort things out if you wouldn't have kept quiet and kept brewing and kept feeding and nurturing those thoughts and then create this reality. So this is how we dispute the beliefs and deal with the situations and then create new effective beliefs and therefore new consequences. So when the beliefs are clear, there's clarity in your consequences. Now this has been researched by the, the Islamic psychologists have all over the world have been trying to create a format where there are Islamic filters in place and it has an Islamic perspective within the Islamic framework where we don't have to work on the beliefs so much because we have our text in place. So we have so much of data that makes and so much of belief and faith in our text and scriptures. So we could just borrow things from there and make it easier to present or to work on. So what happens is whenever there's a issue going on at home, the first point of contact is the zakir or the zakiras, the alims or the alimas, be it a marital problem, abuse, family issue, loss, illness, mental problem, whatever. So because of which they approach the zakirs and the zakiras, but the zakirs and zakiras, despite their well-meaning intentions and all their best efforts, they can give counsel but not provide counseling. So when this was understood from by the Islamic psychologists, the psychologists who were following from the mainstream, the Sunni Muslims, the major part of this entire uh, framework is created by a lot of Sunnis and very few Shias on the board. However, I use it with the Shia flavor as well. So we have a lot more hadiths, we have a lot more books that we can refer to and make it easier. So what happened is a structured approach has been created to assist our brethren in despair. There was a lot of brainstorming, and the Zakirs and Zakiras were trained free of cost. I don't know if it's come into the UK the religious centers, but yes, it is happening in Toronto and in Malaysia. So these two places have taken it in a big way. So what is this? What was this? This is the same CBT which we just spoke about at length and have understood it, I'm sure, to a great extent, but with an Islamic interface. It's an Islamic integrated cognitive behavior therapy. So the attempt here is not only to resort to symptom management, but to take it a step forward in the pursuit to gain proximity to Allah. Like I began with it, that the whole goal or the intention of this workshop is, or of life is for that matter, to gain proximity to Allah. So how do you work towards getting that 2020 vision where you can see the closeness that we share with the Almighty? He's closer to you than your jugular vein, and yet we are working towards Qurbatan ilallah. All our actions, all our worship, acts of worship are to get closer to someone who's closer to you than your jugular vein. So what is the issue? The issue is your vision to see, to feel, to experience the closeness needs to be a 2020 vision, a perfect vision. There's some issue with the vision. So everything's there, everything's in front of you, but just if you have an issue with your sight, so then you need to wear your glasses. So when you're wearing your glasses, you can see things that are clearly in front of you. It's only about your vision. So here what we do is we use CBT only it focuses on symptom management. We take it a step further. So we understand the completeness of Deen and Dunya. So we've been understanding that if you have the world, this world, you will lose on to the world, the afterlife. So if you are experiencing, if you are able to lead a complete life here, your afterlife is compensated. So you cannot enjoy both the worlds, this world and the world after, the hereafter. We've always, this is what this is the this is the understanding that has been going on, that they are two ends of a stick, they're two different things, they're not the same, they're not one and the same. However, when you go into spirituality, what you understand is we are all striving to feel anything materialistically that you're striving to get to, as you're aspiring towards, is to feel happy. So even if you want a Mercedes, or if you want the best of the iPhones, or anything in material, in the material world, the intention is to you would feel happy in having it. So the intention is contentment. And if you are following the prescriptions that have been provided, which are the real prescription, what we're meant to do. So if you're following it the way it's meant to be followed, you will be able to feel happy. So you don't need the external sources to feel happy. So I would like to highlight here one thing. One disclaimer is I'm not an Islamic scholar. I was meant to. It was meant to be shared earlier, but I am by no stretch of imagination. I am an Islamic scholar. At the same time, I am a spiritual seeker. I'm a seeker of, and I walk on the spiritual path. And there are different levels of spirituality that we navigate from and towards. So yes, deen and dunya are not two separate. They aren't separate. They're not two. They are the means to the end. So if you look at the experience of Karbala, what we see Bibi Zainab saying is that I see only the beauty of God in this entire whatever has happened in the event of Karbala. When she says that, that is a person who's at peace with what has happened. She's able to touch that aspect. Similarly, if you look at Imam Hussein, he said he has been told that come to me, return to me, O nafse mutmainna, means the one who's at peace with whatever happened. He wasn't in a state of grieve, complain, and all of that. So the state, now this is an elevated state, but let me take it one step at a time. So when we have to replicate it, when we have to understand it from the space wherever we are, if you can be happy, and the prescription to be happy is doing what you meant to do the way it's meant to be done. So even if you're mindfulness, now we're coming back to the Islamic integrated cognitive behavior therapy, where the first prescription is awareness. So if you are constantly working on your awareness mindfulness muscle, you've strengthened it so much that you are always aware of what's happening around you. And then we pick and choose from our texts and our scriptures how we're going to put this into perspective. So I will join these dots. They would look like 2-3 different things that I've spoken, just like the placebo and the RAS, and then we join the dots as we take it forward. Apart from that, yes. So let me give you another example of Imam Khomeini. So he was just following the prescription, and he was well known. He did what he did. When in his obituary in New York Times was almost 3,500 words, and people could not but deny his presence. So he did not do anything like Ms. Donald Trump did or Joe Biden did, and none of them. So what he did was just follow the prescription, and people cannot but he gets the dunya, if the dunya means fame to you, if the dunya means happiness and contentment. So you will be able to get the dunya with your deen. So this is this is what Islamic integrated cognitive behavior therapy takes us to. It doesn't end at only mitigation of your challenges or personal issues. That is what the Prophet Salawatullah alayhi wasallam has done. He has been going for contemplation in the cave of Hira. When he was then the revelation started pouring in. So he was only contemplating, being mindful, and if you want to call it meditation, that's also something that you can address it as. Apart from that, so here what happens is we are being aware of the thoughts, again the same ABCDE, but in an Islamic perspective, from that Islamic filter. So what you do is you learn the skills and techniques to step back. What will happen at the end of an IICBT, that is Islamic Integrative CBT, is you are going to be able to learn the skills and techniques to step back from negative thinking, reevaluate your thoughts and the core beliefs contributing to the dysfunctional cycle, effectively deal with difficult feelings and unhelpful behaviors, not yours only. Like I said, behavior is the element that could be an external element and not always personal. Acquire problem solving skills, become your own therapist to handle future challenges, difficulties. So, this is what would happen at the end of 5 to 20 sessions, which is an ideal session format for an IICBT. And the sessions are usually a, a week or 2 weeks spaced up. And we use the Islamic integrated cognitive behavior therapy uses Quranic verses, stories from the undisputable holy text, and it creates a strong, undisputable, undeniable basis to refute the dysfunctional cycle and thus breaking free to create a functional, progressive cycle of growth. So these texts are not, they cannot be disputed. So that is the reason why it's very easy for us when when we're using the IICBT with the followers of a particular belief. It becomes extremely easy for us. So we follow the model, the psychological model, with the spiritual words that resonate with our Islamic interface. So we have the first, we begin with the nafs. So there are challenges. We help the patient or the individuals deal with the challenges where they feel the sense of worthlessness and hopelessness, helplessness, anger, frustrations, irritations, hurt, pain, all of that. Once they're sorted and they understand that there is a divine law of compensation that's functioning, things are all happening in their best interest. They are the love, the special child of the universe, God Almighty. So then those issues start sorting out. There aren't any issues. Then we go to the intellectual component where intellectually help people process the events. And there is always something good hidden behind whatever is happening. Then we go deeper into the emotional component, that's the qalb, and then the spiritual component, that is the ruh. So these are different levels. So I'm just giving you a brief sneak peek. So this is how our IICBT goes. So based on the 15 cognitive distortions, what we understand is we pick up one cognitive distortion and we say that if it is the all or nothing thinking, that either we have everything or you don't have everything. So the story of Prophet Ayub helps us understand this and puts things into perspective, the right perspective. So indeed a hardship is followed by ease, and indeed hardship is followed by ease, again repeated. So this is how we ask them to repeat these ayats over and over again with the translation, and that helps them navigate through the challenge that they are experiencing without any intervention of belief. So negative belief. So overgeneralization is again another one where in Battle of Ohad they had very few, we had very few on our side and the opposition had a lot more, and how we we uh, we were victorious above them, and how God always intervenes and helps us during these challenges. So it's not about Everything doesn't work on the same trajectory, on the same lines. So here we will you can get your pens and pencils, pens and paper out, some stationery, where we will do a practical application of IICBT. So what I would want you all to do is find out one issue that you are working or struggling with. So this should be, everyone should be on the same page. We all pick up an issue. You don't need to share it. You just have to have it in your conscious awareness. So all of you should have one issue that you are struggling with. It could be anything. It could be an issue with an individual, a relationship, something that someone's done and you hate or you hurt. There's an individual whose actions disturb you a lot. It could be an event that has happened in the past that is not allowing you to move forward in life, and it keeps coming up, and you see events happening in loops. Whatever you remember, whatever is disturbing you, anything that is a personal one, not something about somebody else, that she's going through this and I want this to be sorted. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to work for your own self. Then rate the intensity of, so I'll give you a moment to write it down. I would definitely like to tell you that I'm no Islamic scholar, and I'm not. There are people who are Islamic scholars, and they are in place. I'm just a work in progress and working on the spiritual path, and along with it, sharing with you my my experiences and how things have helped me and my patients as well. So yes, I'm sure you all have something that you've jotted down. I want you now to rate the intensity of pain that it conjures up, that it triggers in you on a scale from 0 to 10. So you can close your eyes and just evaluate how disturbed you feel. Think about it, feel it. It could be anything, any event. It has to be personal, but it has to be just something that disturbs you, that makes you feel uncomfortable, unhappy, dejected, worthless, hopeless, whatever. And we'll stop here. We're not. I'll just show you the toolbox of ayats now, so that you have this issue, and now you have scaled it, and you will now check this toolbox. So we have a couple of ayats on the screen. I will hold these ayats for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. If you can't read it, find the one. It's like, this is like your first aid box. So these are so many medicines, tablets that you have. So if you have a headache, you'll pick up a paracetamol. If you're running temperature, you'll pick up a paracetamol. And if you're having some pain, so diclofenac should help. So depending on what is your issue, you're going to pick up the ayah. So first thing that I always conjure, that I highlight is, verily never will Allah change the conditions of a people until they change it themselves with their own soul. So this is, no one can do it for you. You have to do it. So I can share with you the prescription, but you have to take the medicines and do what has to be done when they have to be taken. So then there is, if you're mindful of your duty to Allah, He will bestow upon you a mark of distinction and will remove from you your ills and will forgive you. So if the issue that you're experiencing, any one of it is, you can understand it with any of these ayat, then jot down the ayat. These are just 6 on the screen. We have another 6.
I've shared this with everyone else via Google Docs, so Google like slides, so they can see this as well. So don't worry, inshallah, they can just open it up and screenshot everything.
Great. That sounds interesting. So now I need you to tell me if you have found an ayat for yourself. If you found an ayah for yourself. I really liked the other. There was one where Bibi Mariam also where she said that there's so much of pain and I just don't know how to deal with it. And God says, "Grieve not, for your Lord has caused a stream of water." He doesn't get offended, so it's okay to complain. It's okay to feel hopeless and helpless and dejected. So yeah, she says, "Oh, would that I died before this and had this all been forgotten." Thereupon an angel cried below her. Like, she was so distressed. So it's okay to be distressed. And God didn't say, "How did you feel like that? How could you say that?" He just said, "Grieve not, for your Lord has caused a stream of water." So that is how our Lord is. That's how our Allah is. So
We're getting told that the first ayah resonated the most with everyone else. And I also think it really resonates well with like the book that you authored, The Law of Attraction, that flows so perfectly into that topic that you can just change a situation until you work for it.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So what I find, then the Usul-e-Din and the Furu-e-Din, the one that helps me and put things into perspective is Adl, that God is the most just. So the moment you're complaining, you are negating the adalat of the Almighty. So you are questioning the trust, the Adl, that he's Adil, he's just. So that the four distinct qualities. Actually, this should be done then. Now I want you to, you've picked the ayah, I want you to keep repeating that ayah for 10 times. Just repeat it 10 times. So this is the practical IICBT that we're going to do today. So just repeat it 10 times with your eyes closed. And if it is like God doesn't change the condition of anybody till they don't change it themselves, so then just keep saying that. And now you are in the driving seat and you're the one who can navigate yourself through this. And now once again, feel this permeating each cell of yours. Feel this stamped in each cell of yours, that you're in charge, you're responsible for your condition and you can change it because you're responsible. And now, since you have your hands on the steering wheel, the control is in your hand. How do you feel about it? On the same scale from 0 to 10, rate yourself now. The same issue, just rate it once more. Okay, so now all of you, I need you to share with us. So do you feel a little better? You feel the same? You feel worse? So if you feel better, a thumbs up should do. If you're able to move, if you're able to shift, if you're able to experience the shift by just this 4-minute, 5-minute experience, practical application of the CBT, IICBT, you'll be able to understand the impact it has on a long-term basis. So what do we have, Sana, in the chat box? Are they able to see a difference? Are they able to feel a difference? Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. Definitely. Great. So this is, and the Adalat. Now this was so far the IICBT. Maslow's motivational model, or the hierarchy of needs, as we know it, has yet been used in psychology, academically in psychology, and it ends at self-actualization. Let me use my laser here. So here is where it ends in our textbooks. But before Maslow transitioned, he had added another dimension, and that is self-transcendence. And what is self-transcendence? So till now we were just talking about our challenges, and now we go beyond the levels of challenges. Here was the personal issues, first the physiological, then the safety needs, then this is how we navigate ourselves upwards. So here we are love and belonging needs, esteem needs, cognitive needs. Here is where the thinking, the expression, all of this is the CBT has come here, entered here. And then we come to the aesthetic needs. And this is where I get patients who want to lose weight, look good. They're done with their internal dialogues that are disturbing, that's causing them to live life in loops, and that's done with. So now they want to look good, they want to feel good, they work on their aesthetics, they want to their appearance or whatever. And this is about Maslow's model. And then they work on self-actualization, where they're doing what they love doing, and they're enjoying the benefits of living a complete life without thoughts and worries that negatively impact their day-to-day functioning. And then he added this self-transcendence, where you work for the community and you serve from the saucer. So you always serve from a saucer when your cup is full, and when you are complete with what you need, what you want, then you are there to serve the community. And I'm sure all the people here help trying, all the philanthropists have reached there after they've dealt with their personal issues. So beyond this there is no upper limit, and it just goes on. So far, this was what was meant to, this was the CBT and the IICBT and the psychotherapeutic model that I had planned to share with you. From now on, now if there are any questions, we can take the questions before I share with you a token of appreciation, and they also call the cheat codes. So Sana, do we have the time to take these tokens, or should we go for the question answers?
There's just two questions, so I'm gonna just quickly ask them. How would you know the difference from the intended conversation? Then, if you think something different to what someone is speaking out, it's quite difficult to differentiate. So, if, for example, someone says something to hurt you, and then someone says something to hurt you, then should we naturally think they aren't intending to do that? It's quite complex to comprehend, right? Sorry, I'm a little uncertain, but
So one is, how would it make a difference? They have an intention to hurt you. The choice to get hurt is yours. You can choose not. Now you're giving your remote control in their hands when you're saying they choose to hurt me and I got hurt. How would it make a difference? They can choose to do anything, and you can choose to feel whatever you want to feel. So you're sitting on the steering wheel of your life, and people are trying to. So there are lots of examples for that matter. So if there's so many examples. So someone's throwing stones, you can make a house out of it, make a stone house out of it. So it's how you use what is being offered to you in life. There's a law that's called the law of divine compensation. So nobody can take from you, and you will not be compensated for it, because but you do not receive it. Like we have these hadiths that say that there are so many things that stop your blessings from reaching you, and they could be, and we could give the name, we give so many names to it, like gossiping, or we say something that you've done, or something that you, so these are the channel blockers. The Almighty Lord wants you to live a life of complete. We are His beloved children, and we are not here to He's not put us on this earth to suffer or to be in pain. He loves us too much. He loves each of you all very special. So the person who's hurting you has been hurt. So there are two ways to process it. Hurt people. One. Second is, there is also in the book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, he says that I have sent you nothing but angels. So each one, it looks like, if you go by the story of Khizr al-Islam and Musa al-Islam. So what happens is there were three incidences that Khizr al-Islam did, which looked like transgression of human rights. He went and he killed one young boy, he made a hole in the boat, and he built the wall in the house of a quarreling couple. And it looked like, why is he doing that? In Musa al-Islam also couldn't translate what was happening, but there was a divine reason. So what is happening in the face of it? Someone's hurting you. According to you, they're saying things to hurt you or to cause you pain or to transgress upon your integrity. But that is their journey. They are going to reap what they're sowing. So probably that's what they've done. So if you look at Hitler, or there are lots of stories about it, but I would get into controversial issues here. If I take Islam and in Islam and the other text also. So let me go and let me just stick to this. We cannot see what's happening beyond a level. There are veils. So one, how does it matter? The moment the thought comes, she is probably wanting to hurt me. How does it matter? I choose not to be hurt. I can choose not to be hurt. So like in the courtyard of Yazid, when they were trying to despise the Al-Bad and they were trying to ridicule them, they stood strong and they said, okay, we see only beauty in this entire event. So you choose how you translate it and you allow it into your RASF filters are clear that I will only take in what makes me feel good. And when I'm feeling good, I am being grateful to the Almighty. When I'm feeling sad, I am feeling ungrateful. I am questioning the adalat of the Almighty. I'm questioning him and telling him that I am not the blessed child of I'm not your blessed child. You've not done justice to me. You have been unjust. When I'm crying, lamenting, criticizing, cribbing, I am telling and that's the biggest form of being being ungrateful is the biggest form of what do we call that? Kufr ki nishan hai. We say we have transgressed. So we have crossed being a follower. We are defying God's adalat. We are not believing in the justice of the Almighty. Have I clarified it to your satisfaction? Whoever has posed this question, is there anything else? Where's the second question?
I think
Or if there's anything left, I would love to do it, because this is where the clarity will come from.
Yeah, so the person's wrote to me privately saying that, yes, definitely you've answered their question. The second question is very, very short. It's just that I always find when life is stressful, I overeat sweet and salty food. Is that to do with the chemicals they release?
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you're disturbed, you need an overdose of magnesium. So chocolates have magnesium, cocoa has magnesium, and it is the equilibrium that has got disturbed, and the body knows how to set it, because at the end all diseases are psychosomatic. 99% of the diseases, even the hereditary, now because of the neuroplasticity and epigenetics, we have now come to an understanding that there's nothing genetic. The genetic is all in your head. So if you study it further, if you understand neuroscience and you understand neuroplasticity, and if you understand epigenetics, you will understand that there is nothing that is that cannot be understood from the filters of psychosomatic disorders. So everything is psychosomatic. It's in your head. So there have been identical twins with the same DNA who have been placed in two different foster homes. One had a history of cancer, and this boy gets cancer, and that other one has other family had a history of osteoarthritis, and he gets osteoarthritis, and they both are genetically not predisposed to any of these. They're genetically predisposed to thyroid, which is claimed as a inherited disorder. So these two get something so that is how there were 7 such cases that were researched upon, and this was the outcome. So it is the genes are there, but are we reading the genetic code? It's like a black box. Are you opening the black box, and and how do you open it? Is by stress. So yes, stress is definitely a very important component as far as eating is concerned. Stress eating is just to balance your chemicals or your hormones.
Is there
And
any, sorry, so sorry to interrupt. Just very quick follow up. Is there a quick, like, is there food that is good for us that makes us feel boosted? I just got asked. If you can just suggest
yes,
something.
bananas and cashew nuts.
Bananas and
Bananas,
cashew nuts?
cashew nuts, yeah.
For sure. Also, does this toolkit help trauma as well, like post-traumatic stress disorder?
So yeah, so what happens during trauma is your dopamine level, your threshold of dopamine raises to a very, your threshold of tolerating stress increases. So the threshold is increased and you're used to so much of stress. And when the trauma is over, there is the threshold doesn't fall down and you feel uncomfortable in that and you feel stressful when you do not have that much of external source of triggers of stress. So what was the question? I just explained what is PTSD.
The question is just that does this toolkit that we've been describing help that trauma?
See, PTSD can be explained with what I just told you, the threshold of dopamine, and yes, it does. We can recalibrate our dopamine threshold by relaxation. So there's a different part of the toolkit that we can pick up. You can pick up some ayats also. The after difficulties ease, that one also would help. At the same time, so after difficulties ease, that settles into your psyche, that would help. And then deep relaxation, which was one of the tools in the toolkit that I had shared.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I think so. That's all the questions we've received.
Awesome.
You can share us the cheat code, and then we can just wrap
So
up.
I started with a cheat code, but then I didn't like it, so I said let me use it as a token of appreciation, and so that this was what I had to offer. Here, this is the first one. So this is shared by Dr. Andrew Haberman. So he is a neuroscientist, a professor. He has a laboratory in the Stanford University. He has been studying the central nervous system and the stress responses of the central nervous system and brain development, neuroplasticity, neural regeneration, and a lot of and the repair. How do you repair the brain from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's? So he has extensive research, and in fact, the latest paper that he has submitted shares that the central nervous system includes your eyes. So now that's a topic which goes deeper, but this is something special to Andrew Huberman. That's why I thought I should share it. So what does he say? The cheat code here, or the token of appreciation here, is when you're stressed out. So it could be PTSD or anything. There is a particular technique of breathing that would just like the toolbox. So in the toolbox of breathing, there's one particular technique that is called the physiological sigh. And it is something that we do by default, but we're not aware of it. Just like I told you, there are lots of things that are happening, a lot of stimuli, a lot of things that are happening which you're not aware of. So we do it in sleep very often. So what is it like? So it's the physiological sigh where you inhale twice and exhale once. It's a long exhale through your nostril. I physically do it and show you so you can replicate and understand it better. So what you do is you inhale once. So it's like one small inhale and a bigger, stronger inhale and an exhale. And this has been proven to be the fastest way to de-stress yourself. So suppose you were one of the, you were someone who, the story that I said, you're experiencing a stressful situation. Pause and breathe the psychological sigh. But you can't do it because you're so used to the old pattern of behaving. So all this is knowledge to you, but for it to be translated to wisdom, wisdom is knowledge in action. There are tools that we have that you need to keep doing it over and over again. First, you begin with something that's called visualizing. So seeing yourself doing it. So now you have a seed. We have this reality. This is your seed. You want to make this real, but this doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't happen by wishing. You know, if there's by wishing is the first step. So you want it now. You know what you want to make a reality. You want to make the physiological sigh a reality. So what do? You see yourself doing it in a stressful situation. So so you can just close your eyes for a moment when if you know which seed you want to manifest, see yourself in your mind's eye. Visual. This is nurturing the seed. So this is a seed. You want this to be a reality, then you nurture it by seeing it over and over again. And then being mindful of the times when you could use it. So there would be times when you could have used it and you're mindful of it and you've seen yourself doing it, but in reality, you've not done it. So now you're just aware. You don't beat up on yourself for not doing it and you're just aware. Earlier you weren't aware. So you're one step further. Now that instead of feeling guilty that I didn't do it, I knew it and I didn't do it, and I visualized it and I didn't do it. No, I'm one step ahead. I am aware that I did not do it. And then you will be aware the second time, but the third time you might do it, and the fourth time you might not. This is how you make it, and you create new neural synapses, new neural pathways, which are a part of neuroplasticity, where the brain expands, creating new connections and starts putting new ways of life into action. So this is one tool. Then there are mindfulness activities where you make zikr a part of your life. So then you're always alert, but you're doing it mindfully. You're doing it with the intention of connecting to the Almighty, clearing your ways, getting a 20 by 20 vision. Reminders on phone to complete worksheets. So worksheets would be what I was doing at this particular time. So each time you can keep a 3-hour gap. Every 3 hours, I'm just going to write what I'm doing. So that will bring you into the now and the present. These are activating your mindfulness muscles. Memorizing one ayah, a gratitude journal, and one act of charity. It could be a smile. It could be a deed. It could be appreciating your domestic help. It could be just about anything. This is an act of charity. So you have to do it and you make a note of when you've done it. So this will take you to the next level of consciousness. So now we are not there at solving problems. We are at working to the next level of consciousness where we are enjoying being what we are meant to be, what we are created for. There is another, since you shared that you would be sharing it with them, they could also do this forgiveness imagery exercise. So this is another thing. And then a gratitude journal. These are there from the Quran, these ayats. So you count the favors of Allah. You could not number them. So there are so many things that you could be grateful for. So when you're being grateful, you're being the most present. You cannot be grateful for something and be in the past. So you're being grateful today for yesterday's things, but you're grateful today. So you're being the most present. When you're breathing, when you're focusing on your breath, you're being the most present and you're being the most mindful. And the importance of gratitude can never be exaggerated. It is how much ever you speak about being grateful, it's always going to fall short of the actual gratitude that we hold for what we have been restored with. So and there are so many ayats to support gratitude. These are few props that you can use to help you cultivate this habit of gratitude. There's altruism and generosity. These are the ayats. So now we've moved from problem solving issues, and then these are the next levels. And then we come to the second token of appreciation, and that's the cheat code 2. So this is the 5-second rule. So Mel Robinson has shared this. She is a motivational speaker. She has also written the book 5-second rule, and the entire book is based on her experience, where she has been leading a very a life of mediocrity, and then she jumped to becoming what she was by following the 5 second rule. So in the first 5 seconds of you wanting to do something, so when you want to write a gratitude or do an act of appreciation, what happens is, if you wait for the 5 seconds, your unconscious, subconscious mind kicks in, and it gives you multiple reasons for not doing it, because its fundamental focus is on repeating. You know, you repeat 95% of your thoughts are repetitive. So you've not been doing it. So how is it going to make a difference? You can do it after some time. So if you do it in the first 5 seconds, then it doesn't give the subconscious mind to kick in and then stop you or logically dissuade you from doing whatever you wanted to do. So the moment you feel an instinct or a desire to act upon anything, use this rule. So you just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. That's how she used to do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. So that's how she had visualized herself doing it, and she has shared this, and then lots of psychologists have backed her, and have this has proved to be the foolproof formula to install into your experience, into your hardware, the new software that you want to create, the new lifestyle that you want to. So this is another cheat code if you want. And then we have Vaitaba, that is what you think about, you bring about. So write this everywhere, and if you then just look at your life. If your life is not what you want, and not to your liking, then you have to work on your thinking. The moment you change your thinking, you will be able to change your. Okay, so here we go. We come to the end of the workshop, and it's been such a wonderful experience with all of you. And if there are yet any more questions coming up, I could stay 5 minutes longer. We have stretched a little further, but I think it was meant to be.
Yes, so we do have just I think 2 or 3 more questions. One of them, I feel like you just kind of answered, but I'll just ask it again so you can just touch upon very briefly. So the question is in terms of experiencing emotions versus positive thinking. From what I've learned, suppressing emotions causes trauma. How do we balance that with positive thinking and pivoting?
I have told you this at the onset. You cannot stop thoughts at all. I explained that we cannot clean an ink bottle by wiping it. We need to flood it with water. We need to flood our internal environment, our brain, our RAS, with so much of positivity. So each negative thought has to be, so we can inject, like that picture was given, where you inject positive thoughts, so many positive thoughts, that the environment inside becomes a positive environment. And then the negative thoughts, like I also gave you the example of the pen. So how do I make this pen small? Is by having a bigger pen beside it. So this becomes small, but I cannot cut this pen. I cannot stop the thoughts. Thoughts are something that happen by default. So how do we do it by pivoting? I shared with you. So you catch an active belief, catch a thought, and this belief that is funding that thought. There is a belief. What is a belief? Is a thought that you keep repeating. There's a thought that you keep repeating becomes a belief. It's as simple as that. There are multiple beliefs. We spoke about 15 distortions of beliefs. So those are some of them, and that helps us understand the entire um, uh, thought process, and puts it into perspective and makes it easier for us to understand. But there's so many thoughts. So under one distortion, there would be so many other sub distortions. So here we have a belief that has created this thinking process, and then we are only attracting, allowing, validating thoughts that resonate with this belief that we hold. So first we identify the thought, then the belief that is funding this thought, and then change this belief with pivoting, that is by continuously talking about the defeating thought, the opposite thought. We have seen those two thoughts that were there, opposite thoughts. So we pivoted the thoughts, we changed the focus to a positive focus, and do it so often, so often, so often that this becomes automatically, it fades, and this takes over.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I think actually we've touched upon everything. So now I'm so sorry if there's any more questions coming in. If you can personally either, I'll leave my WhatsApp number, and there's also her number on the screen with her email address. So if you can just email her or even message me, and I will ask it for you. So we'd just like to thank you, Dr. Mubarak, for joining us. It was honestly an amazing session. I know I learned so much. I know everyone else did. You can see it, the comments in the chat. Everyone really, really loved it. And inshallah, we will be having more events like this where we connect with our sisters and try to help everyone become and reach their full potential, inshallah. Thank you so much. And we would just like to end with Ziyarat, which Sister Naseem Waljib will be reciting for us, inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Mubarak.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that this platform was introduced, and I have been wanting to share whatever I have with my community, and this is the best opportunity I have. Thank you so much, all of you. Lots of love and duas. Yes. Over to you for the ziyarat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا نور الله. السلام عليك يا ثالث شروط لا إله إلا الله. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا سيدي شباب أهل الجنة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلطان أبا الحسن مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا. كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. السلام عليكم يا صاداتي وموالي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتئه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.